Once you find yourself in conflict with a narcissist, it's a virtual guarantee they're going to start playing head games with you. That's why I put together a new course. It's very extensive called Anger Games. I'm going to teach you how to manage anger and conflict with a narcissist. There's a link below that's going to show you how to register, and I hope that you find it to be very insightful. You've probably heard the old saying that says, an unexamined life is not worth living. Now, that line was actually attributed to Socrates, literally millennia ago, and it's one of those lines that has stood the test of time, and it underscores the necessity for developing a sense of self-awareness. Or even more important, it underscores the necessity of being guided by a sense of wisdom and meaning. The net result, if you were to take that kind of path that says, well, I want to be a self-examining person, the net result is growth and hopefully maturation. Now, you can probably see already where I'm going with this when we think about what I'm saying right here as compared to where that narcissistic individual is. One of the sad byproducts of the pattern of narcissism is the lack of self-reflective thinking. Now, that doesn't mean that narcissists are ignorant, at least not all of them. Some of them can intellectualize and say, well, this is what I believe, and they can hold on to it real strongly to the point of rigidity. But when I talk about self-reflection, I'm talking about entering into the deeper questions of life and pondering on them greatly, like, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What defines me? Where are my choices leading me? And when I do certain things, how does it impact other individuals? That's what I mean when I say being self-reflective. And narcissists tend not to go into that direction. Now, one of the primary things that I learned as a therapist is that most people tend to grow the most, or the motive is strongest when there's been some sort of personal disaster, where there's been some sort of painful situation, and that's typically when the individuals might go into the therapist's office, and I would consider myself to be privileged to say, well, let's stand on this hallowed ground here. This is a time for us to grow and reflect. Narcissists tend not to take that in a serious kind of way. Other times, this self-reflection, this self-examination can occur when it becomes glaringly obvious over the course of time that patterns that an individual has been in are just not working any. So sometimes it's in an immediate situation. Sometimes it's when the lifelong patterns are just falling apart repetitively. And it's in those moments that you'd like to think that the person would say, I've got some hard examination to do. The sad thing is, I've spoken to individuals who are at that point, and sometimes they'll give the hint that they might go into self-reflection, but it doesn't happen. As an example, there have been so many times when I've spoken with individuals in my counseling office where there was, let's say, a really loud and obnoxious and obvious anger outburst, and it was abusive, and it was awful, and it was terrible, and the individuals involved would come into my office and say, we got to figure out what's going on. And sometimes that narcissistic person, because it's so glaringly obvious, may say, yeah, I know, I kind of blew it. Or other times it's when they've made a serious moral mistake or a miscalculation, whether it's in an extramarital affair or having some sort of inappropriate business dealings or treating individuals in a wrong kind of way. But typically, over time, once the coast is clear, once the smoke is gone, it's like, they start drifting back into their old patterns, and that self-reflection was just nothing more than fool's gold. And basically, these narcissistic people keep going back to the very things that don't work well. They simply won't face what they need to face. Now, I'm hoping that when I talk with individuals that I can say, well, let's talk, and let's do so in a way that we can have no excuses, no blame shifting. Let's talk about who you are. Has that ever happened in your dealings with a narcissist where you wanted to say, hey, we've got some things we need to discuss? And frankly, there are so many things that we could put on the table. As an example, with that narcissistic person and all the ingredients that go along with it, I think it's good for that individual to slow down and think, my anger gets me in a lot of trouble. In fact, even though I may feel like I have good reasons to be angry, I don't manage it very well. And so I need to take a hard look at why I get so triggered, why I respond the way I do, the desperation that tends to go along with that, with my anger outbursts. Do they ever do that? Or it would be nice if that narcissistic person could say, yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of hidden fear that I deal with. I don't want people to know that, but I've got it. Now, first of all, they tend not to be insightful enough to even be able to say that, but it's evidenced by the fact that they can be pathologically defensive. They can be evasive. They can keep secrets. All of that is evidence of fear. It's like, I don't want people to know who I am, and I've got to protect myself. I don't trust individuals, and I'm threatened by people's differences. That's what's going on. And it would be nice if they could just simply say, that's problematic. And rather than saying those people out there need to make their adjustments, it's like, I've got to figure out what's going on in here. You need to face who you are. They won't do that. Or another thing is, when I talk about long-standing patterns, it would be good for narcissists as they have yet another relationship failure or disappointment with people to say something like, there's got to be something on the inside of me that contributes to the absence of love, or there's got to be something that I need to learn when people keep telling me how rigid I am or inflexible I am, and I need to examine what that's all about. They won't do that. Instead, they continue to vie for their position of superiority. All right, pause right there. Maybe you need to examine that one too. Face up to the fact that your condescending attitude towards other individuals, it doesn't work. You need to look at that. And it's like, you know what? You need to look at that because maybe quietly, maybe not so quietly, they think, well, I really am superior to you. I actually had one guy point blank say, well, women are inferior, men are superior, and they just need to deal with it. It's like, well, there you have it. That's that unexamined lie. Would you like to take a look at how you arrived at that conclusion? Because you're way off base. You'd like to think that they would take a hard look at this whole thing about control. I know that I tend to have strong opinions and I'm very bossy and overbearing or forceful and I give advice that people don't really want or need. What's that all about? Why do I have such a need to control the way people think and act? And yet, we go back and there's so many things that the narcissist needs to say, I've got some hard self-examination that I need to do. They won't face the very things that they need to face. And as a result, they keep perpetuating the very things that get them in trouble. Narcissists have great difficulty saying certain key thoughts. One, I need to take off my mask. I need to examine myself with honesty and humility. In fact, that would actually be a very refreshing thing. They can't say that. Or a narcissist can't say, I need to stop looking for external stimulation to make me feel like I've got the good life. And I need to look more to the interior. What are the key psychological and emotional and spiritual elements that would make me to be a more whole person, as opposed to getting the next thing or the next stimulation? They typically don't do that, or if they do, it's done in a controlling kind of way. Narcissists have a great difficulty in saying and talking about controlling. They have a difficulty saying to themselves, I know you want to be free. And I need to participate in that. What would my alternatives be like? They don't say anything like that. Or you won't hear a narcissist say something like, I have addictive tendencies, whether it's with substances, whether it's with materialism, whether they're addicted to public approval or sexual orientation. I've got to have somebody's admiration and love, and they've got to show it to me in certain kind of ways. They won't say something. They won't say anything like that. Another thing you will not hear them say is, you know what? I've learned that demeaning other individuals is no way to live. Using other individuals is no way to live. Invalidating other individuals is no way to live. I need to take a hard look at that. They won't do that. You won't hear them say, there are times when I'm emotionally insensitive. Now, sometimes they just let their emotions run all over where they squash people. Sometimes they just won't go into that space at all, but they don't have any curiosity about who you are down at that personal level. You won't hear them say, I need to drop my victim's mindset and just ask, even though they may have been victimized, where's that leading me when I think that way and I don't want to be a bitter person? You won't hear them say, what's the wisest way to find peace and contentment and love and self-restraint? They won't go there. And I know that so many of you are attached or have been attached to narcissistic individuals, and you want to say, look at yourself. Look at who you are. Look at how you manage your life. I'm willing to join you in that effort. Please work with me. And they won't do it. And so I'm hoping, instead of trying to force somebody to examine who they are, to face themselves and take a hard look at what needs to be examined, I'm hoping you can decide at least that my life is going to be well examined, and my life is going to show something that's worthy, and you can decide who you're going to be in a very separate and distinct kind of way, and that's part of your boundaries. See yourself as a separate person and live into that. And then recognize the narcissist is just basically saying, I'm not ready to be that kind of person. They won't say it out loud. But here I'm going to look at, where I see the narcissist being kind of in a psychological math kind of mindset. The lack of self-reflection, plus the lack of stark honesty, plus the lack of humility, plus the lack of curiosity equals foolishness. And that's where the narcissist is, and they're going to continue down that path until they say, I need to face me. I wish it would happen. The odds are rather low. Now, I hope that this gives you some awareness of what you're dealing with. And if you've not already hit that subscribe button, please do so. In my channel, you're going to see there's a tab there about videos. We have so many other videos that are out there. Go back and take a look at some of the older ones. That's what they're there for. We keep them archived there. I'm so pleased to be on the journey with you. So hit that subscribe button. In addition, I know there are times when you're dealing with things like this that you could use some therapy, and you know it. And we've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online resource. It's proven to be very popular and effective ever since the pandemic. All you have to do is go through the link and then answer some questions, and then you'll be able to choose from a team of licensed professional therapists. It's so helpful and refreshing to have someone that says, well, I do want you to help face who you are, and I want you to examine yourself, and let's do that in a collaborative kind of way. Please, as the need is there, go through the link and get the help that you could use. In addition, what I've done since I'm retired from my counseling practice, I put together knowledge and experience in courses, and these are at least 25 videos per course, teaching videos, along with documentation and guided questions. We have the Anger Games course, which has become quite popular. In addition to that, we have This Is Me about boundaries, Free to Be, Ready, Set, Connect about connecting well. In addition to the courses, we have my webinars. This is all on our website. The webinars are 90-minute presentations, along with many articles, access to my podcast, my books. So we have lots of resources. Avail yourself to that as well. Wouldn't it be nice if the narcissist would say, I need to face who I am, and then they mean it and they do it and they work in a collaborative kind of way? Unfortunately, the likelihood of that, like I said, is rather low. But I'm hoping you can be the kind of person that says, well, I am going to have a life that's I'm capable of examining. And in doing so, it allows you to be an ongoing learner. And the more you do and the further you go in that direction, then it allows you to become that person of peace.